You've probably heard the term smart city thrown around a lot. It sounds amazing, right? A futuristic utopia. But it also brings up these kind of scary, dystopian fears. So what's the real story? Let's get into it and figure out what our connected urban future might actually look like.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Imagine a city that's so intelligent it can actually see a problem coming and solve it in real time. A city that reroutes you before you even hit that traffic jam. That's the core promise of a smart city, an urban world that runs on data, not just on luck.
And this image? This is the dream, right here. We are talking self-driving buses, solar panels on every roof feeding power back to the grid, traffic lights that actually adapt to how many cars are on the road. It's this incredible vision of a city that's perfectly efficient, totally sustainable, and sparkling clean.
Okay, so let's really break down that promise. How do we actually get from the cities we live in today to this super optimized, connected version of tomorrow?
First things first, we've got to know what we're even talking about. And what's wild is that for a term that's used so much, smart city is surprisingly vague.
Yeah, you heard that right. According to researchers, there isn't one single definition of a smart city that everyone agrees on. And that makes things really tricky, because if you can't define it, how can you compare what different cities are doing? How do you even know if a project is a success?
So, for our purposes, let's just use this as our working definition. The key ingredients are always the same. You've got technology, you've got data, and you've got people. And the whole point is to mix them all together to make the city better in real, measurable ways, like being more efficient or more sustainable. I love this quote because it makes the idea so much more tangible. A smart city infuses information into its physical infrastructure. It's like the city suddenly has a nervous system. The roads, the pipes, the buildings, they can all talk to a central brain, reporting problems and optimizing themselves on the fly. And here are the building blocks. You've got data, that's the fuel. Technology is the engine. The people? Well, we're the passengers, and our participation is absolutely essential. And then you have governance. That's the driver, the one steering this whole thing. It's a whole system, not just a bunch of cool gadgets.
Okay, so enough with the theory. Let's look at how this all translates into the real world. How does a city actually start to, think for itself?
Well, researchers have kind of broken it down into three main types of urban intelligence. You've got orchestration, which is just about getting different groups like City Hall and universities to work together. Then there's empowerment, which is giving citizens the tools to come up with their own solutions. And finally, you have instrumentation, which is the one we usually think of, plastering the city with sensors to collect all that data.
And check this out. Here's a really cool piece of history. Bletchley Park, where the code breakers cracked the Enigma code during World War II, is now considered by many to be the very first smart community. Not because of sensors or tech, but because of its orchestration intelligence. It was all about brilliant people and institutions working together to solve a massive problem. It's a great reminder that smart has always been about people first.
Now, in our modern cities, that intelligence shows up in tech you might already be using. Think about traffic lights that use sensors to change their timing based on traffic flow, or smart grids that prevent blackouts. Even those garbage cans that tell the city when they need to be emptied. This stuff isn't sci-fi anymore, it's happening right now.
But, and this is a huge but, for all of its incredible promise, the smart city idea comes with some really serious warnings. This technology is a powerful, powerful double-edged sword.
This slide lays out the central debate perfectly. It's a series of trade-offs. The promise of amazing efficiency comes with the very real risk of constant surveillance. The promise of better services, often from private companies, raises fears of corporate control over our lives. And the dream of a fully connected city could create a massive digital divide, leaving a whole lot of people behind.
And if you want to see where the priorities really are, you just have to follow the money. This chart is pretty eye-opening. Back in 2022, the #1 thing smart cities were spending money on was visual surveillance. That really shows you that the fear of a surveillance state isn't just a theory, it's where the investment is actually going.
And those investments highlight the biggest criticisms. A lot of these projects are pushed by big tech companies looking to sell a product, not necessarily by residents who need a problem solved. All that data collection opens a huge can of worms about surveillance and predictive policing. And let's be honest, these high-tech solutions can easily forget about a lot of people, from the elderly to those with disabilities, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of a more inclusive city.
So it all brings us to this really fundamental question. As we build this future, what are our priorities? What are we actually willing to give up in the name of convenience and efficiency? And here's what I think is the most important takeaway. The ultimate success of a smart city has very little to do with the coolest gadgets or the fastest internet. It's all about the human framework, the economy, the culture, and the support systems we build for the people who live there.
So, to avoid all those pitfalls and build a city that's not just smart but also fair, we need a totally different game plan. It means real collaboration with citizens and community groups from day one. It means making things like equity and social inclusion the main goal, not just an afterthought. This isn't just a tech upgrade, it's a complete rethink of how a city should be run.
And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. As our cities get more and more efficient by collecting more and more data, how do we make sure our values, things like fairness, privacy, and just basic humanity, are baked into the code that will be running the cities of tomorrow? What choices are we going to make?